Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. As we continue our journey through the 2018 Omega watch catalog, today we discuss the rich and ravishing Omega Seamaster 300 Master Coaxial, a vintage-inflected diver, part of a family launched in 2014 at Bezel World that channels the spirit and style of the 1957 Omega Seamaster 300, the seminal reference CK2913. This is a timepiece that is modern of fit-finish materials and stance, however, 41 millimeters across the round of the case, not including the crown. 14.9 millimeters thick. You're going to find that this watch can easily slip underneath any kind of jacket cuff, from a sport jacket, a blazer, to an overcoat, or even a formal jacket. 48 millimeters lug-to-lug means this is an easy watch to wear on a smaller wrist. Even 14 centimeters circumference will find that this one wears easily and with a handsome proportion. The spacing between the lugs is one of the modern features of its design and proportion, as the 21 millimeter spacing is enough to give the watch a broad and impressive wrist stance, and it keeps it planted laterally when buckled down. This version is equipped with a rich calfskin strap with bolstering down its center to give it body volume and a sculptural, gorgeous volumetric elegance, with a contrasting stitch on the top and calfskin on the underside in a more natural coloration. You will note that the watch is appointed with a corresponding Sedna red gold clasp. Take a look at how this is assembled, because this is one of the highlights of the watch. Attention to detail, even in an accessory, polished and satin finished externally. You'll note twin triggers, so you must depress both to open this clasp. There's no danger of accidental deployment. You will note on the bottom, the system has a minderless system such that any excess strap length is tucked underneath the clasp body, obviating the need for minder loops that would clutter the look of the watch, and there's no additional strap length flapping in the breeze. All additional length is hidden under the strap. You'll note both satin finish and engine-turned perlage about the clasp. Moving back to the case, you can see it's a minimalist design that draws on 1950s imagery. That original CK2913 with straighter rather than heavily beveled lugs. You can see the case band is a wonderfully arced and cambered and linear satin-grained swatch that's minimalist in profile to evoke the past, but has enough extension and flair to the lugs that there's a sculptural beauty about its lines and its volumes. Chiseled and beveled on its edge, you can see the squared-off ends of the lugs ensure that the watch wears well on a smaller wrist, and the polish of the bevel breaks up the metal so it doesn't look monotonous or monotone. You will note that there is a sharp coined edge to the bezel so that it's easy to grip with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands, but also a polished lower cylindrical portion to contrast with the satin finish of the case band. Jumping to the top, now let's get in close, afford ourselves a little bit more light, and appreciate this Ceragold bezel. A few things about the bezel. First, it's a unidirectional diving model, so you can only shorten your dive, not accidentally extend. There's a luminescent pearl that you can line up with a hand, and you get an impromptu, for example, 0 to 60 minute timer. I happen to prefer this to a chronograph, as it's often easier to read a dive bezel whether diving or not. The ratchet action is superb, with just enough detent to feel chunky and mechanical, but not so much that it's difficult to move when you wish to. Ceragold insert. What is that? Well, it's quite literally what it sounds like. Ceramic, so robustly scratch resistant, but with gold co-molded so that the two become one and can never be separated. Sedna red gold, comprising both the hands at center, the bezel, and, in addition, the case itself. Now, this is a special alloy used by Omega that has a high percentage of copper to make it redder and more intense, and also a high percentage of platinum to ensure that its intensity will not fade over time. It's not at risk of oxidizing as conventional red golds and rose golds can be. The dial base is a blasted matte finish for high contrast, designed to evoke history, but a few elements will set this one apart from its historical forebear. You will note that there are discrete wells into which the solid blocks of luminescent material have been set to add a three-dimensional effect, even as the absolute shape of the indices, the quarter arabics, and the hands at center do draw upon the past. Broad arrow hour hand for easy legibility, as well as a nod to 1957. The dial is simple, and it disguises, in elegant form, the complexity that hides beneath. In the Maytaz chronometer, that is master chronometer to the Maytaz standard, caliber 8401. Red gold on the outside and a good deal of red gold on the inside. You can see, let's get a little bit closer and improve our focus, that the caliber uses 18 karat red gold to constitute both the balance bridge and the winding mass, Omega, marching to the beat of its own drummer with style, forges ahead with a spiral form Côte de Genève in arabesque aboard all of the major components, the bridge, the rotor, as well as the bridges for the barrel and the train. You'll note that the full balance bridge in 18-karat rose gold also features a free-sprung index, the full bridge and the free-sprung index contributing to shock resistance. The Omega Si14 silicon hairspring, giving the watch robust amagnetic properties to in excess of 15,000 Gauss magnetic flux density. There's more going on as the rhodium-plated barrel bridge encloses two separate barrels that endow the watch with a superb 60 hours of autonomy from maximum wind to full discharge. This is far more than the industry standard of 38 to 42 hours. All this protected to 300 meters. The other advantage of the twin barrels in series is that they afford a very even torque release from maximum wind to minimum wind, so the watch keeps excellent time from full wind down to full discharge. The watch has two subsidiary functions. There's a hacking seconds capability, so you can stop the beat of the time, stop the seconds hand, synchronize everything to a reference time down to the second, and there's a time zone feature such that you can set and step the hour hand independently of the others. So while the watch continues to keep time, you can jump east or west, adding or subtracting time zones as necessary. The watch features a Métas chronometer caliber. What does that mean? A master chronometer certified to the Swiss Métas standard. Well, this is a standard that creates the master chronometer, and it was established by Omega and the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, rather than the COSC's test of a 5-position timing and movement-only chronometry trial. The Métas standard, the master chronometer, is tested as a fully assembled watch in 6 positions. Resistances are checked: water resistance, anti-magnetism, power reserve, and winding efficiency. So you wind up with a complete watch that keeps superb time under all circumstances, rather than simply a very accomplished movement. And in the case of a conventional chronometer, much can change when the movement is cased up. Therefore, Omega, with the master chronometer standard, testing only the complete watch. Now, there's one more feature that merits mention, and that is the George Daniels invented coaxial escapement. It remains exotic and one of the most sophisticated escapements you can purchase for under $100,000. Uses tangential action and minimal friction to extend the maintenance intervals of the watch and also improve both short-term and long-term timing stability. Created by the great and late independent watchmaking maestro George Daniels of England. You can see this, the most modern of vintage-inspired divers, on our website. Learn more at govbergwatches.com. And we're back with the Omega Seamaster 300 in Sedna red gold. As you can see, the watch features differential lume about its bezel pearl, minute hand, and the remainder of the dial indications. This is so you can more easily distinguish between the minute hand and the bezel pearl, the most critical timing elements while diving. See this one by the light of day and learn more on govbergwatches.com.